Windows 10 has perfectly adequate window management. If you drag the bar here and go to the top left hand corner, you can snap it to the corners of the screen. You can also snap it to the side of the screen. And of course you can snap it to the top for a full screen. And for the majority of users this is pretty good, but if you're like me and you need a little bit more flexibility in your window layout, then you can use a tool called FancyZones, which is part of the Microsoft PowerToys collection. As you can see, we've got a link here which I'll provide in the video description to download PowerToys. And you can locate it by scrolling down to the bottom of the page and locating PowerToys Setup. This will include FancyZones as well as a bunch of other utilities which we'll explore later. Once this is downloaded, we just need to install it. And with that, FancyZones is installed. Now as you can see, we have a getting started page, and what we want to do is click on FancyZones. Click on settings and make sure enable FancyZones is on. To begin using FancyZones, we press Shift, Windows and the apostrophe key, and this will launch the editor. The editor gives us several templates we can choose from, so let's just go for columns right now. When you're ready to start using FancyZones, simply hold down the Shift key on the keyboard and drag your window to whichever zone you wish it to snap to, and your window will now snap there automatically, allowing me to create multiple windows and organise them side by side, like this. And now we have the ability to quickly lay out our programs in a much more flexible way than we could simply by snapping to the corner. If we wish to bring up the editor again, we hold down Shift, Windows and apostrophe and the editor will appear. This will allow us to create a custom setup. So if we click on Custom here and click on Create New Layout, we can give it a name, such as Development. And then we simply click on Create. We can now reshape these zones here. And to create an additional split, we simply click anywhere with the mouse, and that will create an additional split. If we wish to create a vertical split, we hold down the Shift key and click the mouse. This is a fairly extreme layout, but we'll try it anyway, so we'll click and save. So now we have our bit of a mess of a system, but now we can drag our windows into any of these positions and we can have quite a detailed layout. Now one of the limitations is Windows have a minimum size limit, so as you can see by dragging it to 6 it's actually overlaying outside of that zone, so you don't want to make these too small. If you hold down Shift, Windows and apostrophe, we can go back into the editor, and from the editor we can just start and click on the edit button. Now we can just throw this one away and we can create a new layout, which I'm also going to call Development. Now you have two options here. You have Grid and you have Canvas. We're going to try Canvas this time and create that. Now what we can do is create almost a floating window style where we can have windows overlapping each other. So for example, I quite often have a main development zone in the middle of my screen. So if I size this window to the way I would like my development zone, I can do it this way. I also like to have my editor down here. My editor will occasionally need to be bigger, so I'm going to give it about half the screen, but both these windows are now overlapping. Now I can add another one, which will be my file manager, so I can drag this to this zone here, and I'll have another window that is often my entertainment source, such as music playing in the background, etc. And then I can add a couple of spare windows up here just for anything else I might need. As you can see, we've got a much more accurate way of designing things using the canvas mode. When I'm happy with my layout, I simply click on Save and Apply. And now I can get rid of this. So now I'm going to try a more realistic scenario where I'd have my main code editor using Shift assigned to the middle here. And I want my preview window, which I'm going to open now, and I want to assign it to the area below. So now I can quickly and easily swap between these. I could also decide I want it the other way round, so I'd have the code editor on the bottom, and then I would have the preview window on top. So now as I'm changing code, I can see a preview. I can also decide that I want my files open in the corner. So if I drag my files, I can now add it to this zone. So now I have quick access to my files and my editor and my preview. On top of this, I'll decide that I want my text editor open as well. So I'm going to open up the script I wanted, and I'm going to snap this to the corner for quick reference. And now I have the ability to go through all these overlapping windows. It may look like a bit of a mess, but they do allow me quick access to everything I need. If you decide this layout style is too chaotic, then of course you can go back into the editor with Shift, Windows and apostrophe, and we can create a different layout. So if we go to create new layout, we can then go development 2, and this can be a more easily arranged and visible layout. So if I drag this over here and drag this over here and add a split using Shift, then I can create this version as well. So if I just get rid of this editor, I can now realign it to the new style. And now I have everything completely visible all the time. However you want to lay it out is completely up to you. You have utter control on it. All you have to remember is the keys Shift, Windows and apostrophe, and then Shift to drag your window into whatever you need. This will of course work on a multi-display setup, so you can have any custom layout you want for any resolution. If you have an 8K display or a 4K display like I do, then you can get quite a lot of information on the screens at the same time. If you decide you want less spacing around the windows, you can go Shift, Windows and apostrophe, and then you can edit your background development, and space around zones can be dropped down. You can even turn it off completely. Now that we have our guttering reassigned, we can reassign everything simply by Shift and dragging everything back into their existing zones, and now you have much less spacing between the windows, saving you that valuable real estate, which, as you can see from my document, may make all the difference in the world. So this is the basics of FancyZones. It's really easy to install, it's really simple to use, and it does allow a much more flexible way of setting up your workspaces than the standard Windows layout, and even maybe Windows 11. I hope you've enjoyed today's content. Please hit that bell icon and subscribe to the channel for more.